It's all you, Kristen. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the introduction and thank all of you for logging in. We're Central Time, so it's a little earlier for us. You're logging in right at dinner time, so thank you. I am Kristen. I am the coordinator of student recruitment in admissions. So I also do admissions processing as an admissions officer as well. On this session, we also have 3 current medical students. And I can let them, they can feel free to introduce themselves if you want to right now and your year.
I can start. My name is Kelly. I did my undergrad at Michigan State in chemical engineering, and then I came right to Carle, Illinois, and I am a 4th-year student, and I applied for obstetrics and gynecology residency, and we'll be finding out next month where I'm placed.
Hi everyone, I'm Maggie. I'm actually a Hopkins alum, graduated from uh, BME in 2022, and I'm an M3, so finishing up my clinical rotations and applying psychiatry next cycle.
And I'm Sydney. I'm an M2. I went to RPI and studied mechanical engineering and then came straight to Carl.
Awesome. Thank you. So my plan is to briefly go through some slides about our application process because we are a unique medical school, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And then allow most of the time to ask questions. And that's when the current medical students can chime in because they're living it. And it's great that we have different years here on the call too. So while I'm going through these slides, keep in mind, hopefully it prompts some questions that you have for us at the end. Okay, so let's see if this works. Somebody pipe in if you can't see my slides. All right, so here's the plan. All right, so before I talked with any undergrads or post-bac students, I always share this slide. So you're already doing what you should be doing and you're seeking pre-health advising because you're on this call. So continue to utilize those resources because they're the ones that can give you the information for all medical schools. I'm going to be talking about Carle, Illinois College of Medicine specifically. So all medical schools will have different criteria for admissions. And these are pretty good resources to keep in mind. And I'm assuming you've probably already seen those. And I will share these slides if you want at the end, and then they can disperse it if you want these. All right, there's a timeline. It's about 2 years process. So I'm not sure where all of you are coming from and where your journey is right now, but it is a long process, about 2 years out, and we get a lot of non-traditional students. So keep in mind, the AAMC.org is your friend, and then you'll get all this information. So how are we different? That's the most important thing today if you're interested in us. We are coined the engineering medical school because we were the first medical school to incorporate engineering into the curriculum in 2017. That does not mean you have to have engineering as a background. So a lot of times when I'm talking with a group of people, that is one of the first times they hear that. We actually have non-engineers and we have engineers from diverse backgrounds. Our current M1 class, 60% came from an engineering background, multiple engineering disciplines, and 40% came from non-engineering majors, a diverse group. We have anywhere from a kinesiology to a English and a philosophy major. So we accept all. What the difference is we're looking for creative problem solvers or a physician innovator. And that's what this slide is. So I think people get lost on the word engineering and start to think that that's not them. What engineering is creative problem solving, innovation. So in admissions, that's what we're looking for. So the biggest difference between our 4-year medical school and a lot of other traditional medical schools is that we're very hands-on. So the 3 areas, we do problem-based learning, which is a type of curriculum in education that has been proven time and time again to be the most effective. So we took that concept and implemented it into medical education. Traditional medical education had not been really changed for about 100 years or more. Basic lectures for your first 2 years, and then very little clinical experience. So what you get with us is the opposite of that. some lectures, but also small group learning. And these are the questions that you can ask the current medical students about specifically, what does that even mean? And then engineering is incorporated, it's not separate. So engineering, mindset, ideas, it's threaded through your 4 years, building on each year. And you can ask those students about that. Also, the big selling point for a lot of our students, and when we ask them why they chose us, was the early clinical experience, the hands-on. In week 2 of year 1, they are in the clinic, actually being involved with real life patients. Most larger traditional medical schools, that's after year 2. So keep that in mind if that's attractive to you. It is 4 years. All right. All right. And then the engineering, we get asked a lot in admissions. Well, what makes it engineering? Well, you've got 3 medical students right now on this call that you can ask, but really there's 3 areas that are thread through for engineering, just for me to highlight. So you're taking your foundational sciences, and in those foundational sciences, the engineering part comes out in something called like our biceps class, where you're in small groups, you're dissecting case studies. So you're learning content, not just sitting in a big lecture hall, but working through a real life case study. That's an example. In your clerkships, when you're in the clinic, you're also taking an engineering based course called IDEA course. You can ask them. We've got M4 and M3 on the call. They've done it. They're doing it. And that is where you are working with sometimes engineering faculty. We partner with Granger Engineering here on campus. And what it's basically doing is it's teaching you this class to identify problems that you're seeing in the clinics and the clerkships, and then bringing those problems, those ideas to the class. And then you work on developing an idea project, which I have a slide that we'll talk more about. Very much engineering. So our engineers are used to that. It's very hands-on, and you're always doing this on it with a team. You're not doing it solo. And then the other big engineering part of our curriculum that stands out is in year 4, every student has to be involved in a capstone project or a data science or both. And that is, once again, you're part of a team and you are actually developing something, a project that will help the healthcare industry. And I have a slide, that slide I'll show you. So here's some examples. These are very few examples of what our students have been doing since 2017. But at the top is the idea projects. So those are more like proposals. You're not carrying those out, but those, the biggest thing and what residency directors see when our students apply is that they've been part of these project teams, the idea projects, and then a capstone that all started from a real life issue or problem that was identified. So that's that creative problem solver. And that's why we're looking for students that have those skills. All right. So how do you get in? How do you apply to us? So our admissions process is a little unique, because if we're looking for not the status quo, not that traditional box checker applying to medicine where you're just getting a bunch of hours and doing all the things, we're looking for that extra, that creativity. And how do we do that? Well, so the first phase of our admissions process, we call it the pre-screening. Every medical school will have something like this. Ours, to be honest, is pretty minimal. We only look at a handful of things, and it's on this slide. First, you do have to be a US citizen or a permanent resident. We don't take international students yet, but it will change in the future once we get fully accredited. That's when you can start that process, since we're a newer medical school. So that's screened from your AMCAS, your general medical school application. The next thing that is screened is that you have to have a bachelor's degree or higher from a US institution, which Johns Hopkins is, or a master's degree, but one of them has to at least be from a US institution. And then a 498 on the MCAT. That is the only metric that we look at. We do not have a GPA cutoff. So that's something to consider. A lot of medical schools do look at the GPA at this point. If you get through that screening, that door is closed, and phase 2, you get what's called our competency checklist. So it's emailed to you separately. So some medical schools will call it course requirements. We don't tie down specific courses. We call it competencies. And I'll have a slide in a minute for this to make more sense. So you only have to show 9 out of the 11. And then there's different ways. So we'll talk about that. So that's phase 2. So if you get through the pre-screening, you show that you're competent in 9 out of the 11, that door shuts. And then the third phase of our application process is you will get our secondary application. So you'll hear secondary applications when you're applying to multiple medical schools. Our secondary application is very different. It is not essays. Most of the time you're going to get essays. Ours, we ask you to create 3 artifacts based around our 3 C's: creativity, curiosity, and compassion. It's going to be I'm not going to go into it because it'll be really confusing, but if you can really think about these 3 words right now, it's going to tell you what we're looking for: creativity, compassion, and curiosity. I said nothing about GPA, so keep that in mind. 3 C's. That's our portfolio. And then the second part of that secondary is a video essay. So we do not do interviews. We don't hold in-person interviews. The video essay replaces that. And it is 4 questions usually. It's changed even when like our M4s and M3s, it was a little different for this class of M1s, but it's usually 4 questions, traditional interview questions. It's recorded. So you get 6 minutes to prepare and read your 4 questions and then 6 minutes to answer it. So it is supposed to induce some nerves because we want to see how you can answer questions under a little bit of pressure, but it's controlled pressure because you can do this video essay whenever you want. You can do it in 3 in the morning if you want to, and then you submit that. That's our secondary. Once that's submitted, all of our secondaries are reviewed in that first round. So the scoring, we have 2 sets of reviewers. The first round are 2 separate screeners or first round reviewers, and they are looking at all secondaries that are submitted on time. And then there's a score given. And then the top scores go to our second set, and those are faculty reviewers. And then we start giving offers, which is what is happening currently in our current cycle right now. So that was a lot. It's supposed to be a lot. Here's our 11 competencies. This is where we have the potential to lose applicants. The first one is first time chance that we have to lose people is when they think they have to be an engineer. You do not have to have an engineering background. Second part is when they see our competencies and they see all the math. So because we don't require an engineering background or a degree, in 2017, the faculty committee decided that we should require a little bit of extra math. So that was the give and take. What admissions did was stepped in and said, well, then we don't need to require all 11. So now you only need to show 9 out of these 11, any 9. So that's something to consider. And then another flexible part that sometimes gets lost or misunderstood is you actually can owe us 2, up to 2. So at the time of application, you can maybe only have 7 of these because applying to medical school takes about a year. You have time to get that coursework in if you owe it to us. And it's called Plan to Enroll. So that's what this whole slide says. Once again, I'll share this information, these slides that you can have access to. But this is basically the four ways that you can show the competency. So for me being on this call, this is the bulk of most of the questions for admissions is the competency, and we understand that. And then the second part is, can you explain our secondary again? Because it is very different. So these are the 2 areas that are different in our admissions. The Plan to Enroll, number 3, those are the owed. So you would just owe us. So on that competency checklist that's emailed to you, you would put Plan to Enroll if you didn't have it. You can show no experience in 2, remember, because you only need to have 9. All right, so that is really quick. I do want this QR code. Hopefully it works for you. This is how you can stay connected. You have met me, and then you've met our 3 students, and this is how you can stay connected. It's only a few questions, and what it does, it actually creates a profile in our application system so that it shows that we met you here, and then I will send you an email. I'll send you 1 follow-up email if you're interested. So before you log off, if you could fill that out, that would be amazing. And then this is our admissions email, and then the link, which you'll get these slides to, takes you directly to our website with the admissions part. Everything that I just talked about, but in more detail, is on that website. Okay, I'm going to a few more seconds so you have time to scan this, and I'm going to stop sharing. And I can always share again if you need something on the slide, but I really want to save time to ask for you, all of you, to ask questions. Okay. Okay, so this time we can open it up.